For anyone who doesn't get there in time for when the floodgates close, they have told me that they will allow you to go over the levee on the side, but that's just a little bit harder to do. But they've opened that gate on the side. They also wanted me to get across that there are no sandbagging sites and no evacuations announced for today. They've already given out 22,000 sandbags yesterday and 42,000 earlier with Laura, so they're believing that people still have those sandbags from 2 weeks ago. So that's all the news here from St. Bernard. And again, the part they're focusing on is that lower lying area down by Delacroix and those places where we were earlier today. Reporting live from St. Bernard as the winds are picking up. Meg Farris, Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Meg. Officials in PLAQUEMINES Parish are making their final preparations to protect citizens. This morning, crews began closing floodgates and brought in drainage pumps. Leaders hope that this will help protect the parish from dangerous storm surge and the threat of flooding from heavy rain expected tomorrow. Parish President Kirk Lapine spoke to us about what's concerning about Sally.
The speed of the storm. It looks like some of the models have shifted it east, which is a little bit easier, but the speed of the storm concerns me that it can continually push water on our east bank of our parish. So that's a problem, and we're going to have to watch and be very cautious with.
There are mandatory and voluntary evacuation orders in some parts of PLAQUEMINES right now. We have the details you need on our website at WWLTV.com. St. Charles Parish residents are under mandatory evacuation, and if you need help moving to safer ground, the parish is offering assistance when it comes to evacuating. Duke Carter is in Hanville this morning with the latest there. Hi, Duke.
Hey, Sheba Turk. So just kind of give an update on exactly that situation that you were talking about getting assistance. The last bus literally left as Meg was talking about the situation going off in PLAQUEMINES. So as of right now, there are no more buses here. That last bus literally just left seconds before we went on the air. So what you're seeing right now is pretty much crews just wrapping up for the day as they try to make their final preparations ahead of Sally. But they were out here this morning dealing with about 50 or so people who needed that assistance. They've been doing that since around 7 o'clock this morning, and everything went smooth as it could. About 7 charter buses, they were out here here in Hanville this morning, and so far, well, not so far, but at this point, they're all gone. Many people that we spoke to say that, one, they're grateful that the parish is assisting with them to sort of kind of help them out as much as possible, but the parish is urging people to do not take this storm lightly. They're saying that the reason why they have a mandatory evacuation in effect is because of the fact that they're concerned about the storm surge, and so what they're concerned about is also as well is the 20 inches of rain that is anticipated to hit the area. So that's the reason why the mandatory evacuation is in effect. And so we caught up with people who are just getting sandbags. They were just making sure that their houses, their homes are protected. They also say that they, one lady that we spoke to said they have no intention of leaving. She says she was either going to pick her poison, if you will, either whether it be the virus or whether it be battling the hurricane. And in this case, she says she'd rather battle the hurricane versus the virus and be at home. So the mandatory evacuation is in effect, and for those people who do not choose to evacuate, they say be prepared for power outages to last for about 7 to 10 days or even longer. So this, as you see right now, crews are just making those final preparations. They have wrapped up with the assistance for those people who needed to evacuate with the parish assistance anyway. So as right now, people are just wrapping up and just making those final preparations ahead of Sally. Back to you.
All right, Duke, thank you very much, and thanks for that update that if you needed assistance, those buses have left St. Charles Parish. Well, as we prepare for heavy rain, we want to remind you to be careful on the roadways. If you see water start to rise on a roadway, turn around, don't drown. Just 6 inches of water can stall your car and cause it to lose control. Things get even more dangerous with a foot of water. That much water can cause a small car to float. 2 feet can wash away most vehicles. Police and rescue crews say if you see water on the road and you're not sure how high it is, then don't take a chance with it, just turn around. All right, we want to get to the latest on what is now Hurricane Sally. Let's get over to Peyton with an update.
A picture of what are we starting to picture with? The track, I believe. Yeah. So you can see there the track, and we'll talk a little bit about this. And of course, because this is what most people want to know, the newest update does have a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane currently, so it underwent rapid intensification over the past couple of hours, meaning it has organized very, very quickly. Category 2 still expected as we go into tonight. It will continue to strengthen. And then look at this, getting up to a strong Category 2 storm by tomorrow morning, possibly off the mouth of the river. This would be producing, of course, high winds. Storm surge could increase, especially in this area here, as the winds come on in. And then there it is, Category 2 storm by Tuesday evening, possibly just off the coast of St. Bernard Parish. So only moving a very short distance in 12 hours, and then it makes landfall. It looks like somewhere in this zone late Tuesday and into early Wednesday. So the timing has slowed down just a bit with the track of this, and also the intensity has come up as well. Now it's important to know, me and Dave were talking about this, that you know, that says 105 miles per hour. Remember, a Category 3 is 111 miles per hour. So we need to take this seriously. Of course, we're going to have much more updates on this coming up right after this short break.
There are many signs to help protect us from harm, to warn us from harming ourselves, or prevent us from harming others. But sometimes the best sign is the one that protects you from things you never knew or even thought would hurt you. Eagan Insurance, the sign of quality insurance protection since 1954.
There's always that one driver speeding, swerving in and out of traffic. They're putting everyone at risk. It even happens to me. I've collected over $1 billion for injured people. You know me, and you know what to do.
My daughter's tired of being my muse. Normally, my company does 30 shoots a year. This year's a little different.
I've got several ways to help you and your business.
Make an appointment with your Regions banker to understand your options and brave the beginning.
Hey, it's your girl Latangela. You know me from the airwaves and from working hard in our community. And you know, if I'm gonna partner with somebody, they better care about helping people as much as I do. That's why I'm always proud to team up with my friends at Dudley DeBosier.
From supporting our schools to safe rides home.
To my favorite, Do Right for LA. They're committed to our community.
We care about our clients. And we care about Louisiana.
And that's the Dudley DeBosier difference. Demand Dudley DeBosier. Call 444-4444.
If you're newly eligible for Medicare or will soon be turning 65, it's important that you call right away to request this free booklet. It's called 3 Things to Consider When Choosing Your Medicare Plan. This free booklet from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana will explain the important things you need to consider when comparing or choosing your Medicare coverage. And you can get it now with absolutely no obligation. Just call the toll-free number on your screen. As a bonus, you'll also receive a free copy of Medicare Rights and Protections, which will help you understand your rights in getting the Medicare services you're entitled to receive. Call 1-833-889-7137 now to get your free copy of 3 Things to Consider When Choosing Your Medicare Plan, plus this special bonus booklet, Medicare Rights and Protections. Getting these free booklets now will help you make the right choice for your needs. Call 1-833-889-7137 now.
When managing diabetes, you can't always stop for a finger stick. With the Freestyle Libre 14-day system, a continuous glucose monitor, you don't have to. With a painless 1-second scan, you can check your glucose with a smartphone or reader, so you can stay in the moment, no matter where you are or what you're doing. Ask your doctor for a prescription for the Freestyle Libre 14-day system. You can do it without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Hey, Lisa, let me help you with that.
Oh, thank you. You should look into shopping online at Chewy. You could get that big bag of dog food delivered to your door.
Plus, Chewy ships fast and free.
Free? Yeah. Check it out.
We get all of our pets' food and toys. They even have prescriptions.
Don't forget about Tucker's new ride.
Oh, does that come in Bosco size?
Get fast, free 1 to 2 day shipping with Chewy. Download the app today.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our continuing coverage of Hurricane Sally. It was upgraded to a hurricane just a little while ago. This is a live look at the New Orleans lakefront. You can see the winds picking up a bit there, Sheba.
That's right. There were a number of people out there checking out the waves. We see that all the time. They were coming over the seawall a little bit. Sally is quickly intensifying ahead of landfall. Right now, the storm has winds of 90 miles per hour, and it is moving very slowly, which is never a good thing. We'll get the latest on the storm's path coming up in just a moment.
But right now, we do want to look at some of the headlines that you need to know, and Jade is here with more on that. Jade, a lot going on today.
Yeah, to say the least, Eric. A lot going on. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell just wrapped up an update on the city's preparations for Sally. She says all 99 pumps are working and crews have drained canals in New Orleans East to prepare for rain. She added garbage collection will be suspended until Friday and asked residents to secure their garbage cans as soon as possible. Deputy CAO for Infrastructure Ramsey Green reminded everyone with private construction projects to secure their job sites. And New Orleans Police Chief Sean Ferguson says he has a full staff and there will be more patrols out than usual. Also, you want to keep in mind a few changes are about to take effect in New Orleans. City Hall and all recreation department facilities will close at noon if they haven't done so already, so employees can get home before the storm gets closer. New Orleans public schools will continue distance learning until Wednesday, and then drive-through and walk-up COVID testing in the city has been canceled for today. Plus, again, starting right about now, all bus and streetcar services will be suspended. Ferries have already stopped running. Parking restrictions are temporarily lifted in the city. That means that you can park on the neutral ground, but you really want to try to not block bike lanes or sidewalks or even streetcar lines. So just keep that in mind if you do park your car on the neutral ground. It is 12:02 now. Let's send things over to Dave. And Dave, it's been really interesting to see this storm kind of go from nothing to something so quickly. I mean, it's almost perfect now.
Yeah, we had 60-mile-per-hour winds here when we started the show at 4 o'clock this morning. Now they're up to 90 mile per hour, 30 mile per hour there in just a few hours, and most of that occurred really within 1 hour's time. And so now we're talking about a significant hurricane here trying to develop, and as it continues to get better organized, you see these bright white cloud tops. Yeah, that's those big thunderstorms developing, and it's rapidly intensifying here as we have actually got to the definition of rapid intensification with that 30-mile-per-hour jump there in just a few hours' time. So it is moving west-northwest at 7 as of 11:30. Winds gust already 115, and it'll continue working its way closer to our area here as we head on into the rest of today, tonight, tomorrow, and it may not be till midnight on Wednesday morning there. So Tuesday into Wednesday when landfall finally occurs somewhere along the Mississippi coast, and there is still some even uncertainty with that too moving forward. So right now you can see the visible satellite here showing where the storm is located here. All the thunderstorms still blossoming up, and we saw that earlier, and that's how we knew the storm was starting to intensify. Then you look at the radar. Now that's in close proximity to the radar here from over toward Mobile radar, over toward the radar near Panama City. We're getting a good perspective of what this is. We have a circulation, rain starting to wrap around the center, and you can see here again where the rain is kind of coming around and we have potential eye trying to form here. We saw a lot of lightning a couple hours ago, and what that basically shows and tells you is that when you see all that lightning, that's that intense band of rain trying to form an eye wall. And so indeed we do have that forming, and that continues to develop there as well. And kind of zooming on in, still some lightning, not as much at the moment here. Usually you don't see a ton of lightning with a tropical system, but this one's producing a lot, so you know it's rapidly developing, and that's why we've seen so much intensity joining so far. Hurricane Hunter's been flying into this here, getting us the latest data as they continue to fly through the area. They're still seeing some strong winds out there, about to go through one more pass here before another flight comes in. So with that in mind, we are still looking at winds of 90, gusting to 115, moving west-northwest at 7. Pressure down to 986 millibars, about 130 miles east-southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi River. It is forecast to quickly get to about 100 miles per hour by, say, 7 o'clock, if not sooner, today. And it continued to intensify here. So now by 7 a.m., originally this was supposed to be up here near St. Bernard Parish in the Chandeleur Islands. Now it's just by the mouth of the river, so it's slowing down, which means more time over that warm water, which means it can develop even more, but also producing a lot of heavy rain and pushing water up into parts of southeast Louisiana and the Mississippi coast. So by 7 o'clock now Tuesday night, it still hasn't made a landfall yet on the Gulf Coast area. It may brush by maybe the mouth of the river or parts of eastern St. Bernard Parish, but still winds at least 105. There's a chance it could be even stronger than that. Category 3 starts at 111, and we're going to be dangerously close to major hurricane status here. And then as it goes on in, this is roughly 11:30, midnight or so, going into Tuesday and Wednesday, what makes landfall somewhere along the coast. Now you see the cone here is a little bit shorter now. It goes from the city of New Orleans all the way here to about the eastern shore of Mobile Bay. So those areas still need to watch out somewhere. This will be making a landfall in that location, and then it'll continue working its way northward and eventually through Alabama and into Georgia. So the threats are still the same with this storm, and they're still going to be pretty intense. So what I'm watching, that rapid intensification now underway, is Category 1 becoming a Category 2 later today, taking it to at least the Mississippi coast, but can't really pinpoint an exact location yet. And the impacts are still going to be heavy rain, surge flooding from southeast Louisiana to the Mississippi coast. So you can see here, again, give you a general idea, and the forecast model is still all over the place with this, but here comes some of that rain by 1 o'clock in the morning tonight into tomorrow. And then you'll see here's the center, there's the low, there's the center of the eye rather, and there's some of the rain coming in, gusty wind at 7 a.m. tomorrow. That storm will continue working its way here. This model shows it a little more towards St. Bernard, headed toward the Mississippi coast, but Slidell, New Orleans East area, they're going to get hit with some potentially very heavy rain. That'll continue on into about 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Now the forecast, this model has it already inland. Hurricane Center still has it farther south, so we'll have to get a new update from the model coming in this afternoon before the rain kind of tapers off as we head into the Wednesday time frame. But that forecast track here really hasn't changed. Still looking at 7 to 11 foot storm surge working its way from really the mouth of the Mississippi River all the way through Lake Bourne, heading towards, say, about Ocean Springs, Mississippi. 4 to 6 foot here in Lake Pontchartrain. So initially, remember, that's going to throw all that water right into the lake, and all that's going to continue pushing to the western edge of it. So as we've been talking about, for those in St. John, St. Charles, Tangipahoa Parish, even St. Tammany there, we are going to see potentially some significant storm surge flooding with that water coming in. Stronger the hurricane, the more that water can be pushed on in there initially, first on the western side of the lake into Lake Maurepas here. And so I would say if you had some flooding issues from Isaac back in 2012, there's a chance we could see that again. I was just seeing in my Facebook memories, believe it or not, pictures of what it looked like for Isaac and Interstate 10 coming off this spillway into LaPlace. You couldn't. It was just the lake had moved all over the place. Not saying that is definitely going to happen, but definitely be prepared for that across those areas. Remember, we have the levees protecting us here in the city from all that water. But then once the winds come more out of the northwest, so as the storm moves in, the winds change direction coming more out of the northwest. That's going to push that water back out. So then Slidell area, Eden Isle area, you're going to be dealing with some of that coastal flooding and surge flooding as well. So keep that in mind too. You may miss it initially as it kind of goes in, but then when it starts to come back out with those winds, that'll actually make a difference as well too. And of course, significant flooding, St. Bernard, Plaquemines Parish, can't forget that. Parts of the east that are not protected by the levee protection system, as well as the Mississippi coast, you'll see water through Highway 90. Peyton tells me it's about 9 foot high there. So the elevation does go up fairly quick. So they're going to be looking at that flooding continuing as well. That's big issue number one. Number two is going to be rainfall here. Remember, we're not just talking a quickly moving hurricane coming in. I wish this would just zip right through and get out of here, right? Because no one wants a hurricane to linger longer than it has to. Trust me, if you survived Isaac, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was a headache and a half for us back in 2012 when we were dealing with all that from anywhere in South Louisiana, let alone here in New Orleans. But we are talking about this being a slow mover. So right now the bullseye, the heaviest rain is over the Gulf of Mexico. And at least that's some good news. But it does spread immediately to the Mississippi coast. 15 inches of rain, not out of the question there. Notice the gradient quickly decreases to almost nothing by the time you get to Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge area may not have any rain at all. So we are going to see that gradient fairly tight. So right now we're going to see about 3 to 6 inches of rain here in the New Orleans area to much of the North Shore. Once you get to Slidell, though, and parts of, say, Lake Bourne area, Shell Beach, and head into maybe parts of Plaquemines Parish, we're going to up that closer to 5 to 10 inches for you. And then as you go on into the east, that's where the higher amounts go on in toward Biloxi area and beyond, too. Now, this obviously would be quite a bit to lead to some river flooding issues across the North Shore and definitely flooding issues across much of the Mississippi coast, even on into Alabama. They're still talking 10 to 15 inches of rain from east and western shore there of Mobile Bay. So they're going to be dealing a significant impact from this as well, too. They may have thought, oh, we didn't get the landfalling hurricane. Yeah, well, you're on the eastern side there, so that obviously is a big issue. So flash flood watch in effect, according to the Weather Service, east of I-55, 8 to 16 inches of rain. Some places could see 20 or more across Mississippi, 3 to 7, and that might be on the high end for areas west of I-55, at least at this point. So moderate flooding concerns are expected out there for today. That's mainly a Mississippi, Alabama area, but by tomorrow, we have a high risk for flooding issues, and you rarely see this. This is level 4 out of 4. All of South Mississippi coast area, including Slidell area in Louisiana, through the New Orleans area, back down all the way to the mouth of the river. And then beyond that, that's a level 3, a moderate, which is still significant flooding issues for the rest of our viewing areas. So we're going to be talking about, again, flooding potential is going to be an issue. And by the way, there's 5 named storms out there. Let's just think about that. That's just crazy. We're dealing with Sally, but we have all this going on out there. So the forecasters said it's going to be an active year. Yeah, I think they nailed that one. Right now, though, it's not too bad out there. Things are looking pretty quiet. 85 in town, 82 in Hammond, 85 here in the New Orleans, as well as Slidell, I should say, and 82 there in the Houma area. You'll see the winds a little breezy, 10 to 20 miles per hour. These winds will continue to be breezy throughout the day and pick up in intensity as we go forward here. So we're looking at hour by hour. Temperatures actually get up close to 90 degrees, believe it or not, today. But there's the bands of rain coming in for tonight, and that's when we'll start to see those winds really picking up too. You can see anywhere from about 15 to 25 here in town. And then tomorrow, again, since the track is slower, it's going to take longer for all this rain and wind to come on in. And plus, the wind field is likely going to expand once it gets closer to land. So the likelihood of power outages is going to be fairly great across the area, so keep that in mind. So again, here's one kind of perspective to give you an idea. Some of those bands of rain coming on in by 4 o'clock this afternoon today. Heading on into this evening, we'll see some scattering of those storms coming on in through 10 o'clock tonight. And then tomorrow, again, depending exactly how big the storm is, how strong it is, we'll see some rain early in the morning. Continuing on in through the afternoon, you can see just how intense it is, North Shore and the South Shore. So we're looking at quite a bit of rain here. Now, if the storm is farther off to the east, it's going to take that farther off to the east as well. So just be aware that, again, this is very tricky where landfall is going to be. While it's not necessarily expected to be here in the city, Mississippi coast is close enough to give us quite a bit of rain out there. Then as we head on into the evening hours on Tuesday and then into Wednesday, the rain will eventually taper off as well too, but it'll still be quite breezy out there. But this is when we'll start having those winds coming out of the northwest to be able to push all the water out. So unlike when we had Hurricane Laura and kept all the water up for a while because the storm made landfall near Lake Charles and Cameron, this is going to be different. So it's going to be able to push all that water out of the area as we head on into the day on Wednesday. So 89 today, 82 tomorrow. Not that those temperatures are really a big deal because the heavy rain expected out there. And I have 90% because some of you won't see any rain at all, believe it or not, tomorrow, the farther west you go from town. Drier weather, but a little lingering trough behind the system keeps temperatures near 90 with some rain. And it looks like a little front may slip through the area as we head on into Saturday and Sunday, knocking down the humidity and a small chance for rain as well. High temperatures in the mid 80s. Look at that, lows in the 60s on the North Shore, lower 70s on the South Shore. So not too shabby there at all. But again, here's the latest with Sally. Winds are at 90 miles per hour. And again, it's going to be getting a little bit stronger as we go forward.
Dave, give us some perspective. This is Katie, by the way. Hey. We're swapping out shifts here. It's Katie Moore. And give us some perspective on the size of that storm. That storm looks enormous from where you're standing right now.
And it's growing. So just to give you an idea, right now, of course, here's our center. Tropical storm force winds extend outward 125 miles from the center.
Wow.
So right now, the storm is located 130 from the mouth of the river. So the mouth is about to get those sustained tropical storm force winds. So when the storm gets a little bit closer and closer to our area, that's going to spread all over our area. So while we may not have significant rain for some of you, you're going to have the wind, Katie, and that's, knock trees down. And of course, power outages is going to be a problem for us.
Right. So areas on the North Shore in particular are especially vulnerable to that, I've found, because of the number of pine trees. They're it's wooded up there. Is that going to be a risk for them?
Well, at the moment it's fairly dry, but if part of those areas get as much as 6 inches of rain, that soil is going to be saturated, and it won't take much, to knock down some of those trees, the pine trees. And the Mississippi coast, Katie, is all the piney woods out there. So we're likely to see significant trees down there as well from the winds, which will likely be a Category 2 hurricane at least, borderline Category 3 as we head on into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning.
And talk a little bit about the storm surge real quick. I know you've mentioned that in your weathercast all day, but past Christiane, Bay St. Louis, places like that along the Mississippi Gulf Coast have to really be holding their breath at this point.
Yeah, they do. And let me zip forward here so I can find you, kind of give you the map here, what we're talking about here. And so we're looking at, there you go. Here's our track. So again, we're talking Harrison, Hancock County, Jackson County, Mississippi. Right now from basically here, the mouth of the river through Plaquemines, St. Bernard parishes, Lake Bourne area, all the way to the Mississippi coast to about, say, Ocean Springs there. So that's near the Biloxi area for those not familiar. 7 to 11 feet. Now, Peyton tells us the elevation goes up, as many of us have been to the beaches there, that goes up fairly quickly. Unlike here, we have all the marshes. They don't have that. They go from Highway 90, and then it goes up even higher than that as you go inland. So we're not talking anything like Katrina-type surge of 28 feet, but 7 to 11 feet is going to cause some significant flooding out there until the winds can push it back out. So those areas, Katie, are going to be dealing with that. Parts of St. Bernard, those around the Lake Bourne area as well, on into parts of the east that are not protected by the levee system. The levees will keep us away from all of that, but that's going to be an issue for those areas. And of course, the lakes are going to have some problems too, especially for the river parishes.
And what are you thinking on timing on all of that? When are they going to start to see those, I can't talk, start to see those high tides? I'm just warming up here.
No, yeah, you've got a long way to go.
I know.
No, so the tide's going to be coming up again, going on into tonight and tomorrow, and then storm again. Right now it's 7 a.m. in the morning. It's going to be by the river. So by 7 p.m. tomorrow, it's going to be basically around this location here. So with that in mind, it's going to be kind of the tides going up and down, but the water will already start piling in once the storm gets closer to, say, the mouth of the river, and depending on how strong the winds are, which should be at least 105 according to the Hurricane Center, that'll push all that water starting to come on in. And see, we have this little nook, if you will, and unfortunately that accumulates that water when it's in this location. So that's going to allow us to get all that coming on in. So we're going to see the water rising some places now a little bit, more so tonight and significantly throughout the morning and during the afternoon hours tomorrow.
Okay, so afternoon is when they're going to start seeing the worst of it.
Really bad coming in, yep.
Okay, some fragile ecosystems in that area as well. So that's some great stuff. Thank you so much, Dave. And for all of your severe weather and your updates, make sure you download our free mobile app. It has hour-by-hour radar and a new feature that allows you to upload photos directly to us from your camera roll on your phone. That's important because we need those photos and pictures. We need your help in covering this weather event. So it's perfect for sending us your pictures of storm damage in your area. Once it is safe to do so, remember that is the only time that you should stop to send us photos and videos, but we do need your help out there. Governor John Bel Edwards issued a federal disaster emergency declaration ahead of Hurricane Sally for any potential storm damage. And today at 2 o'clock, he plans to provide an update on the states of emergency efforts. But during a press conference yesterday, Governor Edwards reassured the public that he is working with parish leaders.
Anytime there's a hurricane headed towards southeast Louisiana, we obviously pay special attention to communities like Grand Isle and Lafitte. And so we're working with Mayor Carmondale and Mayor Kerner in those areas to deploy and pre-position flood fighting equipment in those locations. St. John the Baptist Parish, St. Charles Parish are obvious challenging areas too if this storm does what we expect it to do and pushes in through Lake Bourne, Lake Pontchartrain, and Lake Maurepas. We remember low-lying areas in those parishes were flooded as a result of Hurricane Isaac and the storm surge, exacerbated obviously by the rain as well.
So now we're going to shift from the state perspective to the local perspective. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell joined other local officials in updating the city on what to expect over the next couple of days. And here's a look at what they had to say.
Airport is normal operations. They have staff going through the night overall. The only airline that is canceled is Southwest Airlines. After 1 p.m. today, all flights canceled through Wednesday afternoon around midday. That's all I had. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Yeah. And any other cancellations as it relates to MSY, that comes from the airlines themselves. I know that they're meeting actually right now about that, and we'll keep you updated as time moves on. Superintendent Ferguson, you want to come?
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Good morning, everyone. New Orleans Police Department remains prepared and ready to assist where needed throughout this storm event. We will be operating at full staff, meaning all of our commission personnel will be at work. We are currently working on a 12-hour shift beginning at 7 a.m. this morning. Fortunately, all of our unused assets and preparations made for the previous hurricanes, Marco and Laura, last month, put us in a good position for readiness for Sally right now. Our equipment has been tested. Our boats, high water vehicles, stake body vehicles are all good to go. Our barricades are ready if we need to implement Operation Underpass.
Well, Superintendent Ferguson also encourages everyone to avoid underpasses during the heavy rain because you know they are prone to collecting high water. Right now, Lakeshore Drive is closed ahead of Hurricane Sally, but that has not stopped people from heading to the lakefront to see the rough waves. Let's check in on Danny Monteverdi. How does it look out there, Danny? Looks not so bad.
Well, yeah, it's actually, frankly, I've seen worse out here in terms of the waves. There were a lot of people out here just a few minutes ago on Lakeshore Drive. If you were watching during the mayor's press conference, you saw our live picture. Right now, there's no one. The Levy District Police came by just a few minutes ago and on a bullhorn said that they were shutting the floodgate down at the end of Lakeshore Drive where you come in from West End Boulevard. And at that point, it was essentially just a mass exodus of cars and people. Really, the only folks out here right now, there are a few people standing around. Down in the distance, there's a crew from the Weather Channel and ABC News as well, but that's really about it, is reporters out here right now. But actually, let's take a look over here at the Yacht Club. In case you were wondering, the hurricane flags are up. There is, in fact, a hurricane out there, and there's your visual cue to show you that. Throughout the day, the city, or the levee board officials, I should say, have been doing what they can to try to keep people away from the lake, given the conditions out here. You do see it is choppy. It's not ideal to be out here on it. So they're trying to keep people and cars out of this area throughout the morning. Down in Jefferson Parish at Williams Boulevard, and then at Bonneville Boulevard, they shut the floodgates there to shut that access off to vehicles. And you might have seen earlier this morning as well when they were shutting down the first of the floodgates here in Orleans Parish. So again, the goal is to try to keep people away from this water as the winds do start to pick it up and whip it up. Right now, so far, there's none of the water that you typically see along Lakeshore Drive kind of piling up, but that obviously could change in the coming hours and days. And so that's the scene out here right now at the lakefront. Much, much quieter within the past few minutes. Again, as we said, Lakeshore, the Levee Board Police came down Lakeshore Drive on their bullhorns telling people time to go. If you want to get out now with your car, you got to drive out. You can still walk over here, but again, the idea right now is they don't want people out here as the wind could whip up the water a little bit more. Again, you do see a handful of people, but again, just far, far fewer people than there were just a few minutes ago. So that is the live look out here at the lakefront. Danny Monteverdi, Eyewitness News. Back to you guys.
Yeah, kind of ominous and beautiful at the same time. Danny, thank you very much. We'll be checking in with you, as you know, throughout the day.
All right, those of you over in Plaquemines Parish, listen up. Officials are urging residents to conserve your water. This is important. Leaders say many of the service pumps that supply water pressure are in evacuation areas and they've been turned off. It will also cause lower than normal water pressure, and it will not be restored until it is safe to do so. Also over in Plaquemines, a nightly curfew is going into effect in some areas tonight. It applies to areas that are under mandatory evacuation orders, and that includes the entire east bank of the parish and on the west bank from the Phillips 66 Alliance Refinery all the way to Venice. Residents in those areas will be under a curfew from sunset to sunrise effective today. The curfew will remain in effect until the mandatory evacuation order is lifted. Officials in Plaquemines Parish are making the final preparations to protect their citizens. This morning, crews began closing floodgates and brought in the drainage pumps like we just mentioned. Leaders hope this will help protect the parish from dangerous storm surge and the threat of flooding from the heavy rain that we are expecting to see tomorrow. Parish President Kirk Lapine spoke to us about what's concerning about the tropical storm, now Hurricane Sally.
The speed of the storm. It looks like some of the models have shifted it east, which is breathe a little bit easier, but the speed of the storm concerns me that it can continually push water on our east bank of our parish. So that's a problem, and we're going to have to watch and be very cautious with.
There are mandatory and voluntary evacuation orders in some parts of that parish right now. We have all the details on Plaquemines evacuations at WWLTV.com.
About an hour ago, St. Charles Parish ended their assisted evacuations of residents in need. That parish issued a mandatory evacuation order for everyone. Duke Carter has been in St. Charles all day. And Duke, have they heeded that warning?
Yeah, you've seen many people just come out here just to, well, one, exercise first, but then they realize that many people have decided to get some of their stuff and leave on their own. But we have seen maybe 50 or so people actually use the, not the voluntary, but the assistance with the evacuations this morning, and so that's good news there. But they've also seen many people out here use this pile of sand here to protect some of their valuables, and that has been the case all morning long when we've seen St. Charles Parish people out here just making sure that people are doing the best they can to protect themselves and make sure while they're safe down here in St. Charles Parish, where there is a mandatory evacuation. And so, according to St. Charles Parish, the reason why there is a mandatory evacuation is because they're concerned about the storm surge, about 4 to 7 feet. They're also anticipating about 20 inches of rainfall, and according to parish leaders, those conditions are expected to be worse than Hurricane Katrina. So, of course, the top priority right now is safety for the residents, but those conditions, that will limit the amount of service that the parish can provide, whether it be EMS, police, water, or sewer. And so that assistance with the evacuation, that began this morning at around 7. We caught up with people who were just using sandbags to protect their homes, as well as people who were evacuating. Take a listen to what they had to say.
I wasn't going to go, but I changed my mind at the last minute, though.
You good. So they came and picked y'all up at your house? How did that work?
They can't pick us up at the house. The storms keep coming back and forth, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So that's the main thing that I'm really worried about with my family and stuff, that we get out of harm's way before the storm come. But I'm just ready for it to be all over.
Now, for those people who chose not to evacuate, even though there is a mandatory evacuation in effect, parish leaders say be prepared for potentially power outages to last for about 7 to 10 days or even longer, because, again, conditions could limit the amount of services that they, as in the parish, can provide. For now, reporting, Duke Carter, Eyewitness News.
All right, Duke, thank you very much. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more continuous coverage of Hurricane Sally.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck in the New Orleans area, don't take a chance with your case. Call me. Why? Because for years we've been fighting and winning to get our clients the most money for their case. That's the BART advantage.
Summer is gone, but big-time savings at Hurwitz Mints are still going on. Save 50% store-wide, plus take an extra 10% off, or get 0% APR financing. Hurry to Hurwitz Mints.
Play the new Saints $5 scratch-off from the lottery. Win up to $100,000 and pick up the $2 Saints Go Fight Win. Win up to $14,000. Visit LouisianaLottery.com for second chance prize information. Play today.
Do you have unsightly veins, pain, swelling? At La Bella Vita Laser and Vein Center, we give you legs you're proud to show off. Minimally invasive procedures covered by most insurance. Why wait? For a free vein screening, call La Bella Vita Laser and Vein today.
Discover holiday magic and save on a Walt Disney World vacation today.
This can't be real. That's what I thought too when the doctors told me that I had to have my toes removed because I smoked. But here's a tip for you. It's real.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT now.
Ship for store, always on call. Ship for store. Injuries, big or small. Ship for store takes care of it all. We know the law. Ship for store. Ship for store, always on call. Ship for store. Injuries, big or small. Ship for store takes care of it all.
Good afternoon again, everyone, and thanks for staying with us for our continuing coverage of Hurricane Sally.
Hurricane Sally is quickly intensifying ahead of landfall. Right now, the storm has winds of 90 miles per hour and unfortunately is very slow moving.
And it seems like it's getting stronger by the hour. We'll, of course, keep you posted and have the latest weather expert forecast on Hurricane Sally in just a minute. But first, we want to turn it over to Jade Cunningham, who has actually, you know what, Jade is not in the studio right now, but we do want to tell you what you need to know as Hurricane Sally is approaching the coast. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell says residents here shouldn't get too comfortable because even though Sally is tracking further east than we thought yesterday, flooding will still be a big concern.
Excessive rainfall through Wednesday. There is possibility that we will see 24 to 36 hours of rainfall, anywhere from 10 to 15 inches, which could definitely accelerate.
And don't forget, the governor is going to speak this afternoon at 2 o'clock. He's going to give us an update on the state's preparations for Sally. We will, of course, carry that live right here on Channel 4. But in the meantime, the big question is, where is Hurricane Sally going to go? So we want to get right over to Peyton Malone, who has the answer, at least for now.
Right, for now, we're continuing to track Hurricane Sally, and just look at this massive storm just blown up over the past couple of hours, and it's just a reminder of how quickly these Gulf of Mexico systems change. We saw it with Laura, we've seen it, years ago with Harvey, we saw it this year with Hannah. It's just one of these times where we're unfortunately seeing rapid intensification. At 11:30, the hurricane hunters were in there. We're finding winds 90 miles per hour, gust 115 miles per hour. This morning, when we got here, 4 a.m. or so, it was only a 60 mile per hour tropical storm. Pressure's down to 986, continues to drop, and west-northwest movement, it looked like it sped up a mile per hour. So it's going to fluctuate here and there, but overall moving pretty slow. Here is a closer look at the radar, and it is becoming more symmetric. We've been talking about symmetry with this thing and it organizing, and it is certainly organized. You're getting more of that banding feature, the rain wrapping around on that northerly and easterly and westerly side, and it is more of a classic hurricane now, and it's certainly looking like it on satellite as well. So you can see there with this structure, it will continue to intensify. You can see there the eye wall right here. It stretches probably down here, just the radar loses side of it as it gets further out into the Gulf. But a very organized system moving very, very slowly west-northwest. Here is the track, expected to become a Category 2 storm later on this afternoon. We might have it with the next update at 1 p.m. We'll just have to wait and see. But if not at 1 p.m. later this afternoon, there's it is by 7 p.m. this evening. Continues to slow down as it moves west-northwest, eventually going to have more of a northwest movement to it. Look at that, off the mouth of the Mississippi as we go into tomorrow morning by 2 a.m. as a strong Category 2 storm. A Category 3 is 111 miles per hour. It is going to be close. And remember, the intensity forecast usually has an error of 10 to 15 knots. So with that error, you can just go ahead and assume you should prepare for a Category 3 whenever you have a Category 2 storm or a strong Category 2 storm. There it is, making the turn very slowly from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., a 12-hour difference here. It goes from lower Plaquemines to lower St. Bernard. Not moving fast at all, maybe a couple of miles per hour. It moves towards the central Gulf Coast, or excuse me, Mississippi. But the National Hurricane Center even said explicitly in their releases that they give that they don't want anyone to focus on pinpointing where this thing's going to exactly make landfall, because it is still very unclear because of the movement, the slow movement. Slow moving storms are prone to wobble. They can surprise us with things. So all the way from right here in southeast Louisiana towards the coast, going over towards even Mobile in the Florida Panhandle, need to watch this thing for potential landfall as we go into late Tuesday, early Wednesday. That's another big difference. They did slow it down. Landfall will likely be not until late Tuesday and into Wednesday. So even tomorrow, 24 hours from now, the storm is still expected to be down here. And then 24 hours after that, it's expected to be up here. So you can tell there this is going to be a prolonged event, and that means surge is going to become an issue along with heavy, heavy rainfall. Now, our surge forecast, we haven't seen these updated yet, but as you can see here, this was the latest, and we'll have to probably wait until the 4 p.m. advisory for, still have to wait until the 4 p.m. advisory until we see these surge values potentially change. We could see these numbers go up, but right now calling for 7 to 11 feet for portions of South Mississippi from Ocean Springs down towards the mouth of the Pearl River, and then going into Lake Bourne, 7 to 11 feet. That goes down into lower St. Bernard and going into portions of East Bank of Plaquemines Parish. Of course, with this track, you would have wind still flowing into the lake, 4 to 6 feet rise there with the latest one, and then 3 to 5 feet down towards Port Fourchon and Grand Isle. So lower values as you get west of the Mississippi River, because you would more than likely have more of a easterly wind pushing the water out to sea. Now that could change. Of course, it all depends on this track, whether it goes more east or west. So everyone here in Southeast Louisiana needs to continue to follow this very closely. The heaviest rainfall, it does appear like with the current track, it will be in South Mississippi going over towards Alabama. 10 to 15 inches, certainly looking likely with some of these, with the banding moving through. 20 plus inches is not out of the question. As you get closer to Southeast Louisiana, we'll see those totals drop off probably pretty quickly with hardly an impact at all out in the river parishes, maybe an inch or two of rain, then that's probably on the high side. Here in New Orleans, we're going with 3 to 6. 6 inches is currently on the high side. And then getting closer to Mississippi, the coastal areas, you could have 5 to 10 as you get into kind of the eye walls and things like that. So rainfall totals will be dramatically decreasing the further west you go, dramatically increasing as you head into Mississippi. So those are the main threats right now, is surge and, of course, the potential for heavy rainfall. When you can expect the winds to pick up, they're already pretty breezy out there this afternoon, but as we go into later this afternoon and evening, tropical storm force winds starting to approach the coastal areas down towards the mouth of the river, down towards Biloxi, Ocean Springs, maybe by 7 o'clock or so. Your hurricane force winds are in the red there, notice, pretty small, so we don't expect widespread hurricane force winds with this. And then as we go into tonight, this is around 2 a.m., notice stronger winds approaching the coast, starting to approach the metro, still maybe gusting 40 miles per hour, so nothing too dramatic here in the metro. And then as we go into tomorrow afternoon, this is by 2 p.m., notice our winds are still sitting a hurricane force right here. What is that, near Chandelier Sound and the islands there, and then getting and approaching portions of the islands there in South Mississippi, and then approaching portions of lower St. Bernard and Plaquemines Parish. Those will continue to move up throughout Tuesday, and then by Tuesday night, making landfall. It looks like they've got it somewhere in Mississippi, but of course, as we've mentioned, this could jog around just a little bit. So a very long, kind of prolonged event of what we're going to be dealing with. Unfortunately, it's not going to be in and out. Winds out there right now, the winds earlier were very far away from the center, but it has contracted, and that is just a sign of it organizing. Of course, it is a Category 1 storm still strengthening. Winds are gusting to 50 far away from the center and 45 here, but as you get closer into the circulation, your winds are going to be, of course, much higher, close to maybe gusting over 100 miles per hour currently. Our current winds, nothing too bad. We are seeing some breezy. You saw the lake there earlier, pretty choppy. 20 miles per hour in Gonzales, 29 mile per hour gust in Port Fourchon, 25 in Gulfport. We still have more of that northeasterly wind, but as the storm gets closer, we'll start to see these more out of the east, and that's when the water will start to come up later tonight. Out in our marine areas, our highest wind gusts, of course, down out in the main pass that is closer to kind of those tropical storm force winds, and they are currently experienced at least tropical storm force wind gust, but certainly those will continue to go up, and all those will as we go into this afternoon. Taking a look at kind of the chance of seeing these tropical storm force winds. In the yellow there, that's Buras, so Plaquemines Parish, St. Bernard Parish we'll call. Slidell, the North Shores in red. Homa, you are in the blue, so the Bayou parishes. New Orleans, so the metro is in the green. And then coastal Mississippi, you are in the purple. Notice the highest chance of seeing tropical storm force winds is Buras in the yellow, so Plaquemines, St. Bernard, and the going into Mississippi. New Orleans is about 60% chance of seeing some wind gusts over 40, or sustained winds over 40 miles per hour. So certainly could be breezy as we go into tomorrow. Chance of seeing hurricane force winds is much lower because it is a very small area of those strongest winds. You do have that chance as you go down towards the mouth of the river. It's about 30% right now going into tonight and into tomorrow. And then as we go into, the other locations, much lower chances, and really not expecting to see those hurricane force winds with the current track anywhere but in South Mississippi and right there along the river going into lower St. Bernard Parish. So could certainly be dealing with a wind threat now. Not out of the question for this thing to try to strengthen to a major hurricane. Of course, when you're talking about 5-10 miles per hour, that's not much difference, and that could be the difference between the Category 2 and a Category 3 in this case. So showers will start to move in later tonight, more than likely. Not a whole lot going on today other than a breeze. Tonight, Sally moves on in. Hurricane Sally in the area all day tomorrow from sunrise to sundown. It will be here making landfall Tuesday night. It looks like maybe coastal Mississippi. And then as we go into Wednesday, things finally quieten down and maybe, just maybe, a cool front by Saturday and Sunday. So something, a little glimmer of hope there kind of on the back end of the forecast. But we're continuing to watch Sally very closely. We get our next update in probably within the next 20 minutes or so.
All right, never mind. In St. John Parish, a mandatory evacuation order went into effect at 6 o'clock for areas north of Airline Highway. Joining us now to talk about all the preparations that are underway is Jacqueline Hotard, the St. John Parish president. Thank you for joining us. I know you're very, very busy.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, you heard the latest, updates. The wind has intensified significantly. What are your concerns as we head into the evening? Afternoon.
Our biggest concern, right? Our biggest concern is the storm surge, and that this is a slow-moving storm that could produce heavy amounts of rainfall for an extended period of time for our area. Those are our main concerns right now. That's why we called for the mandatory evacuation for all of the areas north of Airline Highway, easily described as the areas on the Walmart side of the airline. Those were the areas that were hardest impacted, hardest hit by Hurricane Isaac. And so we just want our residents to understand that should conditions deteriorate, we may not be able to provide emergency services should they be needed.
And did they get that message? Did they head out or head to shelters if you're providing them?
Yeah, some of them have. Some individuals, they weather storms very differently. The biggest thing for us was just letting our residents know that if you do stay and the weather conditions do get severe, that we may not be able to provide emergency services. And as always, we could experience some power outages. So I think it's just being upfront with the residents and transparent about what we could be facing for the next couple of days, especially with a storm that is just moving so slowly. We see that Sally has become a 1, expected to be a very strong 2 at landfall, and it's a pretty wide storm. So we still have the potential for that heavy rainfall, for some flash flooding until this storm gets closer to the coast to where everyone can see really where Sally's going. We will continue to monitor this thing very closely, have all of our emergency operations up and running, and all hands on deck.
Yeah, because we're in the middle of, switching shifts. Hard to say. And so when I walked in, all of a sudden it went from 60-mile-an-hour winds to 90-mile-an-hour winds. Now we're talking about a strong 2 when it makes landfall, possibly even stronger. Are you anticipating opening any shelters, or do you anticipate a need for things like that?
Actually, we do have 2 shelters open in the parish right now for individuals who needed a place to go. They can contact our emergency operations center, anyone in the parish looking for some assistance with sheltering, and that number is 985-652-2222. But currently, right now, we do have 2 shelters open in the parish. I don't believe anyone has gone, or I believe there's just a few people there right now, but that is open and available, and we will continue to make that open and available for our residents until there is no longer a threat to the citizens of St. John.
Let me repeat that number to you, 985-652-2222.
Yes, ma'am. That is the number to our emergency operations center. And if residents need assistance with evacuating or any sheltering in the parish, or really anything, not just that, any assistance that they may need during this event, we have our EOC being fully staffed and operating.
All right. We thank you so much for your time. And again, I know you're very, very busy as you prepare for whatever Sally brings our way. Thank you very, very much, Parish President Jacqueline Hotard. And we also want to let people know, too, if you are in need of information and you want to give us a call, we have a helpline. This is important. What you need to do is actually call this number, not text it, 504-529-4444, 504-529-4444, and someone will actually answer the phone and get you the information you need. In the meantime, Entergy also preparing for the impacts of Sally and the potential power outages. The company's crews and contractors are on standby and ready to restore power to customers as quickly as possible. President and CEO of Entergy New Orleans, David Ellis, spoke with us about those preparations.
Still working to restore power from Laura. but we prepare for these events all year long. We're beginning to identify and prepare staging sites. We have our crews in the city and ready to go, and we're bringing more crews into the city to address any scale that we might see from Sally. One of the biggest things that we're concerned about with this storm is how slowly it's moving. So we're expecting it to remain in the region for 2 to 3 days. And because it is also, as many hurricanes do, bring very heavy winds with it, there is only a limited amount of work that we can do to restore power while winds are at or above 30 miles per hour. We cannot send our crews out in bucket trucks when the winds are at or above 30 miles per hour. And so we ask that everyone remain patient as they can, knowing that as soon as it's safe to do so, when the winds are below that level, we'll get crews out to begin to restore power where there are outages, beginning with emergency circuits first, and then with those circuits that affect the greatest number of people.
And if you need to report a problem with your service at any time, just call 1-800-ENTER-G. It's time now to take a look at the latest from the Weather Department. Peyton, what you got for us?
Yeah, we continue to track, of course, a strengthening storm, and a lot of eyes are going to be on the storm surge, especially for coastal areas, and that's where you do expect it to be the highest. Now with the storm forecasted to be even stronger, so we're talking, Category 2, a strong Category 2. We're looking at probably higher storm surge values. I think we'll get a new update from the National Hurricane Center at least by 4 p.m. But looking at some of our data here, you notice the bullseye, of course, where you're going to see the highest levels above ground is in the lower St. Bernard, PLAQUEMINES Parish because of the marshy areas. So, of course, going to be watching all this very closely. Even with the track over here, the storm surge could still be a big concern for these areas because once the storm's down here, it's moving so slow that it is pushing the water, and it's going to be down in here for 12 to 18 hours or so in this part of the Gulf of Mexico. So you're going to have that extended period of water being pushed into these areas. I'll zoom in here and I'll show you where you see the reds. Of course, that's where the storm surge will be highest, and of course, most of the towns over here in St. Bernard Parish or close to the Lake Borgne area. So we zoom in. This is a great tool that the National Hurricane Center puts out. And anywhere you see in the reds, that's 9 feet above the ground level. Now, of course, a lot of this is just, marsh, but going towards Shell Beach, Wyclowski, Hopedale, you're going to see the water rise significantly, calling for 7 to 11 feet. And we were actually just looking at some storm surge data and some tidal gauges, and they're already starting to see a rise, of course, because the winds have picked up, and that's only going to steadily go up as we go into this evening, and especially tomorrow morning into tomorrow. All day, a storm surge will be at its highest, and of course you have your tides as well, but that's when it'll be at its worst. And you can see there in the reds there extending in St. Bernard Parish, that's where your highest water will be. Of course, this is where the levee starts, so you don't have data and you don't expect storm surge inside of the levee protection system. Going up to the north for the lake, and we're talking the Pearl River Basin here is why that goes so far inland, but you've got Slidell here, of course, you've got towards Venetian Isles, Irish Bayou. Those areas are going to see inundation with water funneling in. That's the thing, water funnels into this area, and when water has nowhere to go to spread out, it goes up. So that's why our storm surge is such a problem around here. And then going into parts of South Mississippi, storm surge could be quite significant over here. Now, of course, if the center tracks over here towards South Mississippi, we could be dealing with some pretty large storm surge values. Currently, the forecast is 7 to 11 feet, but you could see the hot spots in the bay here, of course. As you have an easterly wind or a southeast wind, you're going to get water funneling up here into the Jordan River area. Shoreline Park, there's a lot of houses. Kev Shev lives over here somewhere, and they see rising water very, very easily anytime you get a strong wind. So you would likely see the water piling up in here. As you go into the Wolf River Basin, here's Pass Christian. We've Cuevas is up in here, and then here's I-10. So you're going to see water back up in here quite a bit. Pass Christian towards Henderson Point in this area is going to see quite a bit of inundation. All these houses are high up for a reason. You're going to see the water rise there. Highway 90 from Long Beach to Gulfport to Biloxi probably going to be shut down going into tomorrow because the surge is going to come up. And then, of course, going into the Biloxi Back Bay, you're going to see water rise in there. The Point Cadet, and then going up into the Chutacabuff River Basin, you're going to see quite a bit of water rise there. Now, some good news, because I just didn't give you the best news with the surge, but the good news with the current track, our values would be much lower west of the Mississippi River. So we're talking towards Lafitte, down in lower parishes, or lower Jefferson, towards Grand Isle, Port Fourchon. You could still certainly see water rise because you've got a hurricane in the vicinity, but with that strong easterly wind, that might help with the overall storm surge value. So notice a lot of blues on the map. You're likely going to see the water come up maybe a foot or so, but it could certainly be worse, and this is manageable even for Chauvin Cocodrie. Nothing too dramatic there, but it'll certainly be any east-facing shorelines, you could see the water go up. So anywhere in here, you know, the water would likely come up from this part of the bay, but maybe not as significant as what we're going to see on the east side of the Mississippi River. Going towards the west side of the lake, and just looking at these values, these have actually come down, I believe. We've got blues on the map now, which is better than yellows and oranges, but we're going to have water coming into the lake here, of course, and you would expect these low-lying areas over here along the interstate to see some inundation, and you notice there's a bit of a higher totals being indicated down there in St. Charles Parish, so we know they have issued that mandatory evacuation. You could see a little bit more of that lake water coming into here, but maybe up to 3 feet or so. It's not indicating anything too dramatic, but certainly things can change, and with an extended period of those strong winds, just something we're going to have to watch. Let's talk about the winds and when they could arrive. And you notice the size of the wind field of this thing. It's very broad on the east side, which is pretty normal, and it's pretty tight on the south and west side. So as we go into this afternoon and evening, tropical storm force winds start to move into the coastal areas. That's winds over 39 miles per hour, over 40 miles per hour. Your hurricane force winds are right here, still pretty small. But as the storm gets stronger, it's naturally going to get a little bit more wide. The good news, this thing's not going to have time to probably undergo an eye wall replacement cycle, which is what happens when it weakens and then it gets bigger and stronger. Usually those happen out in the Gulf of Mexico. This one's, I think, a little too close to land to go through that entire process. So that is good. We might not see this expand tremendously, but certainly some stronger winds being pushed into the low-lying areas late tonight, so surge will certainly go up as we go into tonight. It will be dark, the water's going up, so you've got to get everything done this afternoon if you can. Now going into tomorrow afternoon, here's the center of the storm right in here. You've got your hurricane force winds, pretty small still, but seeing some of those stronger wind gusts right on the edge of the New Orleans metro into St. Tammany Parish, stretching up over into South Mississippi. And of course, you still got some pretty strong winds in St. Bernard and Plaquemines Parish. And then there it is making landfall sometime Tuesday night. That's still a little bit tentative because of the slow movement. It's very hard to predict when and exactly where a storm's going to make landfall when it is moving at 1 to 2 miles per hour, because they're prone to wobbling. The steering currents are a bit chaotic and things like that. So your water is going to be very high at this point. This is by Tuesday night. So water will go up tonight and could be pretty high over the next 24 hours, of course, with your tidal ranges mixed into that part. I want to leave you with this, and you can see there we've got very strong winds developing across most of the kind of around the core of it. That has changed from this morning where they were further away. Now we're seeing the stronger winds a little bit closer to the center, and that's just a sign that you know, Sally is a pretty strong Category 1 storm at this point.
All right, thank you very much, Peyton. And we do have several ways that you can text us to get more information on Hurricane Sally. This involves the same number. So in this case, you're going to want to text it to us, 504-529-4444. Text the word app to download the WWL-TV app. Text the word closing for all the school closings. And then you can text the word storm for Hurricane Sally updates. Also, you can text us your storm photos and videos using that same number when it's safe to do so. Please include your name, where the photo was taken, and when, so that we have some perspective as we pass along that information.
Okay, so I'm getting flagged down by Peyton Malone, who says that he has the 1 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center on what's happening with this storm. He wants to give us another quick update on what's happening with the forecast.
Yeah, while we're here, I figured I'd just do it. So we did get the 1 p.m. update in. There's some good news. Of course, it's still a hurricane, but they have not bumped up the winds any, so maybe it's kind of leveled off a little bit. For now, that's good. Winds are still gusting to 115. Our west-northwest movement is at 7 miles per hour, so it is it's still kind of maintaining that 7 mile per hour speed west-northwest, so that means it's got more of that westerly component to it than north. Pressure, it looks like it's holding at 986, and it is currently 125 miles east-southeast of the mouth of the river. Of course, we did not get a track update with this 1 p.m. update, but we'll get one with the 4 p.m. update. I want to bring you very quickly the track that we have that we have currently, and you notice they continue to expect it to strengthen. Category 2 storm later on this afternoon is possible. It makes that northwest turn as a strong Category 2 off the mouth of the Mississippi River by by Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Slowly and ever so slowly making that turn. 7 p.m. here, so all day Tuesday it is going to be in this area, and then making landfall by late Tuesday going into Wednesday as potentially a strong Category 2 storm. Somewhere along the Mississippi coast, maybe over towards Alabama, getting close to, southeast Louisiana. So all eyes are certainly going to be on this.
Right? We're still in the cone, correct?
Yes, New Orleans is still in the cone, and that's something important to know. We've been watching these east trends, and those are good. Those are encouraging, right? But we have not let our guard down because this is a slow-moving storm, and slow-moving storms can do wild things. They can wobble. It could certainly take more of this easterly track. It could try to wobble a little bit closer to the mouth of the river, and if it did get into, let's say, St. Bernard Parish, or even closer to the metro, of course, that would bring bigger impacts. Models have been a little bit more consistent on a Mississippi landfall, but the National Hurricane Center even said it is hard to focus on the exact landfall location, and all areas in here need to continue to be vigilant.
And is there anything to indicate this could be a 3 or even worse? I mean, can we just say, oh, it won't get any worse than this? Is there
Right, you're talking about a strong Category 2 storm here, so a 3 is certainly possible. The one thing that could be interesting to see with this is with its slow movement, it's moving over shallow waters. This is all fairly shallow. And that means eventually, it's going to be pulling all that warm ocean water up from it and transferring it into the atmosphere, but it's also going to be, it needs that warm water to feed itself and grow. So you would think eventually, if it is sitting over the same area, that it's going to eventually start to run out of warm water, essentially. So it'll be interesting to see, we call that upwelling, what that does to this, and that could keep it from becoming, any stronger than a Category 2. But we always tell people to prepare for a category higher, right?
Right. Not every day that we have a hurricane hanging out for more than 24 hours right off our coast.
Right. We wish it would just zoom on through, but it's not.
Absolutely. It's certainly something to watch in terms of storm surge, too, with it hanging out there that long. So, Peyton, thank you. And, of course, we'll come back to you as we get new updates from the National Hurricane Center and just, of course, in our next hour of continuous coverage. And as we've been saying, you should waste no time in getting prepared. Peyton just said it. Do it this afternoon if you have not done it yet. Consider picking up a few of these things when you're shopping at the store today. Non-perishable food that could last you and your loved ones up to 3 days, just in case. 3 gallons of water for each person living with you. Be sure to have a flashlight and batteries on hand. Also, don't forget to pick up any prescription medications. A first aid kit is also a good idea, and to stay connected, a portable charger is always something that's good to have for your phones and your devices. That way you can make emergency calls.
And speaking of that, we do expect a lot of people grabbing their phones when bad weather begins to hit the area. Devin Bartolotta explains how you can share your videos and photos with us.
Hello to our citizen journalists. We want to show you the best and easiest way to get your pictures and videos to us here at Channel 4 so we can get out the information to people who need it right away. First thing, we only want you to take pictures and videos if it is safe to do so. Second, make sure you are shooting video and taking pictures long ways like this, horizontally, and not up and down like this, because it looks much better on TV and on your computer that way. When you have something you'd like to share, open up the WWL TV app and scroll down to Submit Here. It's very easy to upload, but make sure you tell us where the photo was taken so we can accurately report conditions in those areas. You can also text us photos to 504-529-4444. Be sure to include the location and anything else we need to know. We thank you for being an extra set of eyes and ears as we cover Louisiana. Thanks so much, and stay safe.
There are many signs to help protect